Right. So that's, so he's given us values. We've looked at moral values, and we've looked at reason for reasons to believe in God, right? Now he wants to move to this whole idea of mind, which we have kind of alluded to a couple of times already, right? God and mind. He says each moment we're subject to all kinds of vivid, multifaceted, conscious experiences of the world, right? Not to mention thousands, he says, of complex internal thought processes. Right?
Breathe, digest food, think, push organs. Okay. That's right. All right. Yeah. I'm good now. I'm good now.
All right. He says all of this is possible only because we possess a conscious mind distinct from our physical body. Indeed, we're not merely a conscious being, we're a self-conscious being, right? We're conscious of our own consciousness.
Yeah. One of the ideas that I like to think about, Eric Hernandez, who's a Christian philosopher, he says we have the ability to play a guitar, and if some of the strings on the guitar are broken, it's not that we lost the ability to play the guitar. So we've lost the ability to convey music using the guitar. So just because you can affect physical parts that affect how you interact with the world in some capacity doesn't mean that you don't have a mind or a soul or whatever we might term it to interact with it. We just lost our interacting capabilities.
So if we're able to, reflect on our thoughts, right, on our own conscious experience, then we're able to think about our own thinking process, which is the point he's trying to make, right?
So what does any of this have to do with God? We're just minds. That's fine, good, and I'm okay with that. It just arose, and wetness from water that you just have. Well, the argument that Anderson wants to develop in this section was hinted at in previous sections, where he argued the reason itself is reason to believe in God. There is a close connection between mind and reason. A mind is a prerequisite for a reason. Where does reason come from? It must come from a mind. We say the ultimate mind.
No, it comes from chemicals.
Right. Ultimate chemicals.
That's right.
So only beings with minds have the ability to reason. Essentially, that's the argument. And because reasoning necessarily involves beliefs and ideas, reasoning requires thoughts, and thoughts exist only in minds. Furthermore, minds exhibit consciousness, which offers a distinctive first-person perspective of the world.
Yeah, good. So the fact that we have conscious minds in another thing that we take for granted. Right? As we evaluate competing worldviews, it's worth asking this question then. How did we come to possess the minds that we have? Right?
And sometimes when you're talking to people, you're like, is this person a mind? Or is this the simulation? Sometimes.
Yeah, and of course you could take that question wrong, right? When you ask the person, how did you come to have the mind that you have? Right?
Are you out of your mind?
Be careful. Yeah, right. He says, indeed, it's that there are any conscious minds within the physical universe, right? That's the issue, right? How is it? How is that the case?
Consciousness is a big issue.
Yeah.
So according to the worldview of naturalism, matter precedes mind. So again, for naturalism, matter comes first. Big bang, small thing, explodes from nothing, produces everything. We kind of rile ourselves up through non-life. Non-life suddenly produces life. So matter produces then the mind. The difficulty for naturalism is that it's very hard to conceive how minds could arise out of purely material processes. It seems like something non-complex is forming very complex things like a mind. It seems like if you rub two rocks together, no matter how long you rub it, no matter how much lightning strikes it, how much goo is produced from an oxygen-rich environment, consciousness isn't suddenly going to rise. Maybe. We haven't done grand testing before. Conscious minds have a very distinctive features, such as a first-person subjective perspective of the world and a capacity for thoughts, feelings, and experiences. A mind must hold those things. Such features are so thoroughly different from physical properties, such as mass, energy, size, that there seems to be a fundamental discontinuity between the mental and the physical. Oh, this is hot. Okay, there are nerves that are sending signals, and I should just, think, I should move my hand away because this is hot. No, I experience the physical pain of it and the hotness of it.
Yeah, pain is in the mind.
Yeah, I have a headache. Prove it. Prove that you have a headache.
There's pain in that fire right there. How do I know? Well, I stuck my finger in it.
Yeah. Well, it just has properties of pain in it, and you're just transferring the property of pain to you.
So what he tells us is that the naturalists will often appeal to evolution to explain our advanced mental capacities.
Sure.
Right? They'll argue that possessing a conscious mind gives an organism an evolutionary advantage, and a more sophisticated mind offers an even greater advantage. Thus, evolution can explain, at least in broad terms, how our remarkable minds came into existence. Right? QED or whatever. Right? He says this sounds plausible until you recognize a basic flaw in the argument. Well, what is it? Naturalistic evolution cannot explain how consciousness appeared in the first place. Right? Evolutionary forces can only operate on things that already do exist. Right? So evolution is for things that already exist, quite frankly. Natural selection can only force a conscious organism over a non-conscious one if a conscious organism is there for it to favor. Otherwise, it can't favor one over the other. Right? You can't say, well, the conscious mind was fit for the particular environment, right? But the question is, where'd the conscious mind come from? Right. You got to have that to work on it first to have it fit for a particular environment.
It's like my silly example of there's the law of contradiction versus the law of non-contradiction. They're both there, and one just wins out. One hits the other one over the head with the rock, and the other one didn't feel it. So it died, and it's better to feel the rock bashing your skull than to not for some odd reason. For some odd mind.
That's right.
So worldviews which imply that rational, conscious minds develop late in the history of the universe as the chance outcome of purely material processes face some very serious philosophical challenges. Mm-hmm. So the Christian worldview isn't one of them. However, since it affirms that mind precede matter, not human minds, of course, but God's mind. Right. Why should I believe Christianity? God has mind.
That's right.
You have a mind. Mind arose from mind.
That's right.
And so,
not our mind, but God's mind.
Right. So yeah. there needs to be some perfect mind out there. So God is an external, self-existent, transcendent, personal being with a mind, and not just any mind, but an okay so-so. It falters every once in a while.
Be careful of lightning. Right?
No, it's a mind that must be perfect, absolute, and infinite mind.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
And again, this isn't just taking qualities of the Christian God and saying, oh, this is what philosophy must be like. This is also saying, here's what philosophy should entail, and we're matching them up to the best worldview that explains those things.
Right. So we're saying this is what reality is like.
Right.
Has to be like. And so what is the best worldview that explains the way that we know reality has to be like, right? So God created humans with minds as well as bodies. Not only can we physically manipulate the universe with our bodies, but we can think about the universe with our minds. So this view of the universe and our place in it has some profoundly important implications, he tells us, right? And so here's one of them. Because the material and mental aspects of the universe both have their source in God, notice we can have confidence that our minds are fitted to understand the physical universe, which is one of the most basic assumptions of science, right? Because God created both our minds and the world that we live in, then there's some congruency, we might say, between our mind and the physical world. And so it allows us to understand the universe. And therefore we can do science, which is his next subject, right?
That's a good lead in.